Hello and welcome to this special podcast by the Indian School of Business. We are the students of Advanced Management Program in Public Policy and work on policy challenges across diverse domains, primarily agriculture, food, environment, education, finance, governance, and digital identity. The set of rules set by the government for we the people, or in short, public policy, is an important part of our day to day life. Today, we are here to discuss two vital aspects of any nation, which ideally should work in tandem. They are the public and the private sector. There have been numerous debates about which model is more efficient and can the two exist in harmony. As per a 2015 UNDP program paper, no model of ownership, public or private, is intrinsically more efficient. The paper further says that efficiency under all models depend on competition, regulation, autonomy, and issues of institutions developed. To take this debate further and understand it better, we have two AMPPP students with us, one from the private sector and the other one from the government sector. So let's start with the government sector. So you have such a rich experience and been dealing with private sector on a regular basis. How has the experience been? I understand one cannot generalize, but is the word efficiency that is attached with the private sector close to reality?
I would say so. I would not say that the government is inefficient. In fact, whatever economic, social, and political development we have seen in India since independence has been because of the intervention of both the government and the private sector. But still, because of structural issues, we can say that there is a need of improvement in both the sectors, and more so if we are to tackle the challenges of public policy in the times to come, we need to have more efficiency in both the sectors.
प्राइवेट सेक्टर का व्यू जानते हैं आप गवर्नमेंट से बिल्कुल डेली बेसिस पे डील करते हैं ऑलमोस्ट यू वर्क क्लोजली विद द गवर्नमेंट तो डू यू थिंक इज देयर अ मिथ दैट देयर इज रैम्पेंट रेट टेपिज्म इन द गवर्नमेंट और यू थिंक इट्स वेरी इंडिविजुअलिस्टिक आप उसको ओवरऑल गवर्नमेंट के बारे में नहीं बोल सकते व्हाट डू यू थिंक
So, this view that there is a lot of red tapeism in the government has generated over time. So, what I would say is that there are processes that need to be followed at the government level, and sometimes these processes can be time consuming, as any process would be. So, then it becomes important for the private, organization who is dealing with the government to understand those processes very thoroughly and then try to address them. Because as a government, it's important to understand that the processes need to be followed. So sometimes when the processes take time, it's often thought of as red tapeism. Yes, as far as individual involvement is concerned, there are both types of people in the government. There are people who are want to micromanage things, and therefore they take longer time in decision making. Mm-hmm. But there are people who are solution seeking, and they would so the movement would be faster. But it's about understanding the need by the private sector and then trying to address them.
So let's take this red tapeism back to the government sector. He says that there are processes. Maybe that processes are viewed as red tapeism by the private sector or by the public at large. Do you feel that?
Yeah. If you see the origin of the term red tapeism, it comes from the typical file noting, and the tape is a sort of a flip cover on the files, which is there on every file. See, the nature of the public sector is slightly different because we are using public money as distinguished from the private sector. And we have more accountability channels because of which certain procedures and processes have to be strengthened. We are accountable to, of course, like private sector, we are more accountable to judiciary. We are accountable to the political class. We are accountable to the seniors. We are accountable to the press. We are accountable under RTI, Right to Information Act, which may not be applicable in the case of private sector. And most importantly, we are accountable to press and the public at large. And we are using not the corporate or the shareholders' money, but we are using the public money. Because of that, the processes have to be there. But at the same time, that does not justify the excessive use of the rules and procedure which result in delay. There have been so many initiatives, both technological and human, to reduce the red tapeism. And as we move into the e-governance and m-governance age, we are observing that the technologies themselves are reducing the red tapeism.
So we are trying to reduce this red tapeism, and you are saying that digital, we are getting digital, maybe that's the way out. So let's get back to private sector. Do you think this whole digitization of the government or digitization is the way forward? This will actually reduce the process times, and eventually we'll move towards somewhere where the whole gap will be bridged and processes will happen faster.
Most certainly, I feel that with technology coming in, as I said earlier, and my colleague from the government just spoke about, the processes need to be followed. So the moment the digitization happens and the movement of these processes, so while these processes are important, it can be simplified, but it cannot be completely done away with because of genuine reasons of involvement of public money and accountability. But with technology coming in and reduction in the levels of the procedures, I think that would ease the entire process and the sort of capacity of doing business among each other. Yeah.
Let's go back to government sector and ask one very interesting thing. There is a model that we have seen in some states where, a lot of processes have become time bound. Like there is X amount of time, you need to clear some files or you need to do that with a time. Do you think it's a step in the right direction, or eventually sometimes it leads to problems because there is a pressure that एक file को आपको इतने दिन में clear करना है. There are a lot of aspects जो आपको overlook करने पड़ते हैं as a government employee, and eventually it leads to bad decisions or maybe hasty decision making जो eventually बाद में आकर आपको ही haunt करेगा.
Well, I agree that there has to be some time-bound nature of the decisions,
right,
and they can be flexible a little bit because of the ground realities. Now, for instance, suppose you keep a target of 1 week for the approval for a new factory license. Now, there could be a situation where there may not be electricity in the office of the inspector, or there could be some VIP visit, or there could be some natural disaster because of which the timeline could not be followed. However, I still feel that the decisions should be prioritized to the extent possible. I'll also say that we should look at the governance from the point of view of the last person standing in the row in the last village. Like, to give an example, I'll say, who is more important for a common man or a woman? A patwari or a district collector? Who is more important for a common man? A police constable or superintendent of police? Who is more important for a common man? A electrical lineman or a superintending engineer? So what I mean to say is, we should see the governance from the point of view of the last paradigm and last hierarchy of governance, which is the citizens living in the rural areas at the grassroots level. If governance can be improved at that level, not at the district state, of course we require at that level also, but the people who are residing, and India is still a country with a lot of rural population. So we should think of those people also who do not have resources. Those people also who do not have literacy. And right, if we can improve governance from that last person point of view, I think it can be scaled up.
So let's go back to private, and we are just wrapping it up now. So one, we have figured out that digitization is the way forward. Apart from that, last mile connectivity, as our government friend just said, any other suggestions that you would want to make?
I think over a period of time, there has to be an acknowledgement from both the sides that
right,
there has to be a partnership,
right,
and there need to be an acknowledgement that private sector needs government,
right,
for resources, and government needs the expertise of private sector. So once that mutual acceptance would come in, there would be much more appreciation of each other's need, and also a sensitization of the process. So gradually, when that happens, and then it becomes much more inclusive and cooperative, rather than looking from each other's separate silos. So more and more engagement would actually break down those barriers, if I can say so.
Right. So basically, more engagement. We should stop working in silos, and the more interaction that will happen between the two sectors, I think it will be better. Thanks a lot of both of you.
So I'll conclude by saying that it should
please.
be the public and the private sector should be just like Jai Viru Jodi.
बहुत अच्छा एनालॉजी दिया है ये जय वीरू का जोड़ी अगर बन गया
They should complement each other, because I mean both the sectors are equally important for the government,
for the nation
to prosper. Yes,
true. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot of both of you for debunking these myths and listening to each other so patiently. I hope all of us from today will appreciate each other's work a lot more, and that is what is required to build a stronger nation. A lot of thanks to all of our viewers who has joined us for this podcast, and we'll return with another podcast. And this is your host Rishi signing off. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.